Let's talk about the solution. Should trans athlete compete against a biological woman? I feel sad for transgender women because they cannot really compete against men. Of course not. But also they really cannot compete against females. It's very unfair. So this is my solution for this big problem that we have with transgender athletes. Unfortunately, there isn't enough transgender athletes in the world, so they cannot really compete against each other. And also you have to remember the weight divisions and so forth, so on. So I feel like in sports like basketball, football, in group sports, transgender athletes should not compete because it brings a very unfair advantage. So if a female basketball team has a transgender athlete in that team is gonna dominate. Like, that's a huge advantage for that team. And because of that, you're gonna create a situation where nobody wants to play against that team that has the transgender athlete. And that's why transgender athletes should not compete in any team sports. Now, let's talk about in MMA. Can transgender athletes compete in MMA? Yes and no. It depends if the female fighters want to fight against them. Like, the female fighters can choose to fight against transgender athlete. They can choose that. Most women are gonna say no. Of course they are gonna say no. But there are some women in MMA's regional scene that's gonna say yes. We have seen male fighters fighting against female fighters in combat sports like Muay Thai, for example. Here is a good example. A female UFC fighter, Jermaine Durandamy, who is one of my favorite fighters in UFC, she beat a man. In fact, she knocked a guy out. That's ridiculous. Yes, a female fighter knocked out a guy. Just watch this. I'm gonna show a clip. Here. Boom! A knockout. Jermaine Durandamy knocked out a guy. Isn't that wild? Knocked out a guy. By the way, the current champion, the double champ, Amanda Nunes, beat the shit out of her. Man, Amanda Nunes is something else. So I think in cases like this, female fighters should choose to fight against a man or a transgender woman. It's your choice in the end. But I don't think the organization cannot force you to fight against a transgender or a male athlete. And because of that, we are not gonna see a transgender athlete competing in a high level fight sport like in UFC. It's never gonna happen because all the females are gonna say hell no. Hell no, I'm not gonna fight a transgender woman. Are you crazy? Maybe Amanda Nunes is gonna say yes. You know, she can actually beat anybody. Now let's talk about the other types of individual sports like weightlifting, running. I think transgender athletes should compete in these, but they should not take the spot of a woman. So if they become a number one, a female athlete should also be a number one. So there should be a 2 number one. If you become a 5th in a competition, there should be 2 people who became 5th. So the transgender athlete and a female athlete. The thing is that you don't want to see a transgender athlete take a biological woman's spot. You know, like, these athletes train their whole life to win this competition. This is their career. This is how they get money. This is how they get sponsors. Legacy. You cannot take that away from them. So if transgender athlete comes and dominates, let's say in weightlifting, and becomes number one, there should be a female athlete that also becomes a number one. A transgender athlete should never take a female athlete's spot. Like, imagine being a female athlete. You dream about this. You work your whole life. You work so hard. And you're finally there. Let's say you're in a big competition, in a world championship competition or in Olympic. And there's some transgender person dominating and takes your spot. It's extremely unfair and it can cause a lot of problem, depression, suicide. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to ruin people's life but also you wanna let transgender athletes to compete. So I think there should be 2 number 1 or 2 number 2 or 2 number 3 or 2 number 10. You know, it doesn't matter. I think transgender should compete in sports like this, like individual sports, but they should not take a female spot. For example, if a female transgender woman dominates in running and breaks the world record would say a transgender woman world record. So it will not take the female spot. That's how you make both sides happy. The only unfortunate case where the transgender athletes cannot compete is the group sports like basketball, football and so forth so on. I think that would be too unfair. So this is my take on this whole debacle on transgender athletes. Let me know down in the comment section, do you agree, do you disagree? Let's have a civil conversation in the comment section. Also, click the subscribe button, like this video if you like. Stay safe, stay healthy, goodbye.